Hello everyone. In this video we'll be looking at JWT authentication with Node and Express. To get started, we'll continue with our previous project in which we created the REST APIs with Node and Express. So let's go to this link. I'll put this link in the description as well. Let's just download this code. I'll just clone this. You can download this as well. So let's wait for it to clone and we'll start. Okay, it is done. Let's go to the directory and do npm install to install the dependencies we have. Let it install. It will take some time. Okay, let us install some other dependencies as well which we require. We'll install bcrypt and we will need Json web token. That is it. Let this install and we'll continue then. Let's open this in our code editor. Okay, we have this here. To get this project running, so first of all let me give some basic overview of this project for those who are directly starting with this one. Also in this project we have just created some basic APIs with Express and Mongoose. So this is the basic setup. We have a 3000 port and this setup is just for logging, to log any errors or exception handling. So we have following routes enabled in this particular project: API books, and we'll go to books route. So here we are connecting to just our remote MongoDB database. So let us see what kind of routes do we have. Let's go to books. We have basically all the CRUD operations in this particular project. We have post operation in which we can post a book which has the following structure. We can get all the books. We can get book by particular ID. You can update the book and we can delete the book. That is the basic functionality this app has already. And in the models folder we have the structure of the schemas. Basically we have an author schema and we have a book schema in which book has a name, author, genre, and author itself is a schema in which author has a name and age. That is all we have. So to get this running, we need to go to our MongoDB instance, remote MongoDB instance. So we'll go to MongoDB address. Let's log in to our account. If you don't have one, just create one. Let's wait for it to finish. So it has opened. Let's click on connect so that we can get the connection string. So if you do not have the project set up, create one project here and you will see the same interface. We'll click on connect your application. You will see a connection string here. Just copy that string and go back here. In this we'll create a new file called .env in which we'll require this Mongo URL because we are using this from environment variables. So let's write Mongo underscore URL which will be equal to our connection string, and we have to make some changes here. So this is Vishal and we'll have to replace it with our password. The password for me it is very simple. It's the same name. You have to add your own password here. And one more thing here is to add a database name. So for add any name here, database, for example we'll add here books, and we'll be good to go. Close this. Just open the terminal in the same window. To run the application, let's check if this is working. We'll say npm run dev and wait for it to execute. If this is connected, we'll get the message. Okay, we are connected to MongoDB Atlas successfully. So in your case, you have to create one project if you don't have one and click on connect. Let's see our collections. What all collections we have already. We have books and users collection. Let's delete those collections, so that we'll start fresh. We'll drop all those selections. Okay, we have cleared everything. So now let's check if we can access our APIs. Let's basically check the get API. We have it on localhost 3000 / API / books. It should return an empty array. Great. That's fine. Now let's not start with our JWT token implementation. So to start with the implementation, let's go to the models folder and we'll create a new model for user. Let's name it user.js. This will be in our database, which will be storing the username, email IDs and password for us. Let's say const mongoose, which will be equal to require mongoose. Let's name it user schema. Let's call it new mongoose.schema. Let's say we have name. This is of type string. Let's say it is required. Let's say required to true. And next one will be say email. This will also be of type string and it will be required as well. Third one will be password. That will also be of type string and required of true. Let's remove this. We can also do something like, let's say name has a min length of 3 at least, so that we had some validation. Now what we'll do here is we'll do module dot exports, which will be equal to new mongoose dot model. Let's name our model, for example, user, and we'll use user schema. Great. Now model has been created. Let's go back to our index.js file. In here we will add another route. Let's say app.use. We have API / users. Let's say we'll add route for, let's create actually a new route first. Let's create a new file inside routes folder. We'll name this users.js. Let's require express. Let's say router, which will be equal to express.router. Let's say create a new user. Let's export this. We'll export the router from here simply. Let's use this in here. Let's call it users route. We need to import this as well. Let's say const users route will be equal to require. We'll require it from routes / users. Great. Now let's continue working on our users. In this user route, we need to create a new user here. So what do we require? We will require email, username and password. Let's require our libraries here. The required libraries, let's say bcrypt. To require bcrypt. We have installed it, right? Yes, I see bcrypt here. Great. Let's make sure it is correct. Okay. So let's import JWT as well. JSON web token. Now we'll create a post route. We'll say router.post, and we'll have request response handler, and in here we'll receive all the information. So for example, we call it from the Postman, so we'll enter our username, email and password. So we want to store these details in our database, so but we want to store our password in encrypted format. So for that we'll use our bcrypt package. So let's say we want to encrypt the password. We'll say bcrypt. It has a hash function on it. So let's say bcrypt.hash. Now we have to pass some arguments here. First argument will be the thing you want to hash. We want to hash the password. We'll say request.body.password. Second thing it needs is the salt or number of rounds you want it to iterate through. So let's create a constant for number of rounds. Let's say const salt rounds. Let's say 12. The default value is 10, I guess. So you can put any value, or you can go through the documentation as well of bcrypt. I'll put some links in the description as well. Let's place the second argument here, which is salt rounds, and the third argument is our callback function, which will either evaluate to an error or it will give us the correct hash. Let's just see if we can get the hash here. Let's log it first. Let's boot up our Postman to check this. We'll go to the particular route and we'll make a post request to this route. We'll provide the password and we'll see if we can get the hashed value out of it. Let's go to we'll go to API/users and we'll make a post request. Go to body. Say for example we pass a password. Let's send it and let's see if we can get anything in here. Okay, see here we got a long looking string. This is our hashed password which we will be going to store in our database. So correct. So this is not evaluating because we have not returned anything from our route handler. So this, let us cancel this. So which means we are getting our route. Now what we have to do is we have to create a new user here and save it to our MongoDB. Let's say let new user, whatever. Okay, let new user equal to new user. User will be our model. Let's import that first. We'll import, let's say const user should be equal to require. We'll go to model and we'll import our user model. Let's create a new user out of it. What does our model expect? It expects, let's go to models to check. So it needs name, email and password. Great. We'll say name equal to request.body.name. Email will be equal to request.body.email, and password will be equal to our generated hash value, right? So we created a new user here. Let's do new user dot save now. This is going to return a promise, so we will await this here. Let's say user created equal to await. So we have await, so we have to mark this function async here. So we'll say if user is not created for any reason, we'll say response dot status of what, let's say anything. let's say finder, correct me with the status code please. Okay, let's send a message, could not create user, or else if user is created, if the user is created now here we'll create our JSON web token, and we'll send back it to the user after creating the JSON web token. To create a JSON web token, say let JWT token, let JWT token equal to JWT, our library dot, it has a sign method on it. And now what payload you want to sign it to? It can be a string object, as you see, it can be a payload. It is a payload of type string, object, or buffer. So we'll want to pass it an object. We want to save our name, which will be equal to request.body.name, and we want to save the email, and we want to create token out of it, which will be a long looking string and which will be hard to crack. Obviously we'll say request.body.email. so this is the payload we want to create token out of. And the second thing is the configuration. Basically have to pass a secret, so this can be anything of your choice. For simplicity, let's name it secret. So actually you should save it somewhere else, so for timing let's create it here only. And the third argument is optional if you want to pass it. So this is the expiry time of this token, you can pass it or not, we'll keep it as is, and we will send back details to the user. Let's say response.send, let's say status code, status of 200, and we'll send back an object which say user created, for example true, and we'll send a token which will be equal to our JWT token, right? Let's now check this if this is working. We'll create a new user, we'll send name, email, and password. Let's check, password is already there. Let's create a name, let's say Vishal. Let's create an email, can be anything. And let's send a password as well. Let's say password is equal to a string Vishal. Let's send it and let's see if we can get a token. Great, we got a token back. We got user created as true, and we got a very long string which is our token, and which can be decrypted, and we can get a payload back. Our payload will be the username and the email. Okay, we'll need this token later in this course for the authentication, for our route authentication. Let's now go back to our code and let's see. Okay, we have created a JWT token. Now it is the time to use that token, make use of that token. Now what do we want to do is, in our books route, say for example, I don't want someone to delete a book without authorization. I want if someone is, for example, an admin, then and only then he or she could delete a book, otherwise they cannot delete the book. So we'll make use of that. We'll create a middleware out of it, and we'll say, for example, if the user who is deleting this, if that user is admin, if yes, then okay, you can delete this book, or if it is not, you cannot delete this book. Simple. Let's get started with that. To start with, let's create a middlewares folder. Let's close this and create a new folder. Let's name it middlewares, and inside that middlewares we'll create a new middleware. Let's call it authorize.js, and let's say we want to export a function exports dot is admin, which is a function which will be taking 3 arguments, which will be request, response, and a next function. I'll let you know what this next is in a moment. Let's also import our JSON web token. Should be equal to require JSON web token. Great. And in here we want to check, we actually want to take the token out of the header. So let's say let token equal to request dot headers dot authorization dot split of 1. The way we add token in the header, where we are talking about bearer token here, so it will be like this: bearer and space and the token, some random string. This is our token. So that is why we have split it here. So in authorization we get this whole string. We are splitting this string with a space. So this will be created into an array. With the array 0 index will be having bearer, and the 1th index will be having our actual token. That is why we are taking the value at 1th index, right? So obviously we'll check for if we don't get a token. So let's send a status code of 401 and send no token found. You must be admin to do this task. Great. And the other case will be if we have got the token, we'll use another function from JWT, which will be JWT.verify. Earlier we used a sign method to create the token, and now we'll be using verify method to verify our token. So pass the token, and we have to pass the same secret again. We'll name this secret, and third is the either we will get an error or we'll get the decoded string back, right? If there is an error, sorry about that, let's continue. What happened? Okay, give me a moment. Okay, so as soon as we verify the token, we'll check if there is an error. We'll send back response dot status of, let's send back 401. Let's send, let's say unauthorized. We have some error here. Let's check what is happening. Okay, this should be a function, and if there is no error, which means we have verified our token successfully and user can do the task. So we'll call the next method here. So next method is basically telling to continue the flow. It is saying basically we have authorized here and you can continue to the next code. So I'll show you how does it make sense. So we'll go to books now. We have created our middleware which will verify whether we have provided a token or not in the headers. Let's go to books, and what we did is we wanted to check that if there is a token only if it is an admin, then and only then we give the authority to delete the book. So to add a middleware in this route, what we have to do is pass our middleware here. What is our middleware name? Is admin and comma. So we have imported admin here. from our authorize function, authorize file. So basically what we'll do is, whenever the control flow comes to this route, whenever you do a delete request with particular book ID, it will first go to this middleware. Instead of going here, it will go to this and check if the request header contains a token and if the token is valid. If the token is valid, it will pass the flow to the next route handler, to our route handler. So as soon as the next method is called, this is verified now, and control flow comes to this. Then and only then this code will be executed here. You can also have multiple middlewares here. For example, you can also have a login middleware here to check whether the person is logged in or not. For now, we are not doing that. You can also do that here. You can pass multiple middlewares here. So let's check now if we can get this. We have said should be admin to delete the book. Let's check. First of all, let's see if we have all the books. I think we don't have any book here, but we need to add one book at least. Okay, let's check what happened. Okay, it's not running. Let's run this. Let's check now if we have some books. At least we don't have books, I guess. Okay, we have an empty error. Let's add one book. Go to post method, go to body. Let us add one book. Okay, let's create a different route for that. Let's go to post and localhost books. Let's go to body, raw, and we'll add our JSON. What does our book need? Let's check. Let's go to the book model, not the model, the route. So when we create a book, we'll basically creating a book. Book name, authorization, genre. Great. So we'll create one book. Book name, let's say it is Wings of Fire. It is author name, it is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and author age, let's say it is 60, and we will pass the genre as well. Let's say it is autobiography. Clear? Let's send it and create one book. Okay, we have created one book successfully. Now if we check the get route, we should receive this book, so that we are able to create a delete route to check if we can delete the book. Now let's create a delete route here, and we want to delete a particular book. Books, this is our route, and next we have to pass an ID to delete that particular book. So we'll take this ID. Let's say if we are able to delete this without token now. See, we are not. It is showing us internal server error. So we are not able to delete it. Cannot read property undefined of exports.isAdmin undefined of split, of course, because what is happening here is, which means it is coming to this here. It is not getting any header here. Let's pass this header now. Let's check now. Let's pass the header. So to pass the header, let's create a new user actually. Let's create a new user. We already created a new user. Let's create a new user. Let's say shal@gmail.com, and let's say great. What is happening here is not found. Not found. Let's check what is happening. It is users, I guess. Yes. So our user is created new user. So we can take this token, and if we now pass this token inside the header, to pass the token, we have to go to the authorization, and since we are using bearer token, we choose bearer and paste the token here. Let's see if we can do this with this token, because I don't think this is a valid token. Let's check. Okay, it got deleted actually. So this was a valid token here. Yes, this was a valid token. Now this ID is not found. Let's create the book again to show you the flow again. We'll create another book, and we have not also checked if the things are getting stored in our database as well. Let's check that first. If we just reload our MongoDB Atlas, let's wait for it to refresh. So we have users, we have two users created here with the name, email, and our hashed password present here. And we have, of course, books, which has one book we just added. And this is the book object. Great. So we are now able to delete the particular book using the token. If we do not provide the token, or let's say if we provide the invalid token, to check the invalid token, let's remove the first character to check if this works. See, we are getting you are unauthorized, so we are getting an invalid token. So let's put the valid token and check it again. Book with ID not found. Okay, we have to add the book. So to pass the ID, ID has been changed, and we have successfully deleted the book. So this is how we can use JWT authentication in our projects. You can similarly do it for super admin. So basically you can create different roles. We have just created one role here in the authorized is admin. You can create one for login, one for super admin, or any other roles you want. So that is it for this video. I hope you like this video. Let me know what other topics you want me to cover. I'm thinking of one video with passport.js authentication. So let us see how this goes. Till then, thank you so much. Please like this video and share this with your friends as well. Thank you.